All right, welcome back to our podcast. We have manager Yeezy, manager Chipotle, manager FanDuel, along with myself, manager Corona. Today we're gonna be discussing who wins this trade. We have three trades for you guys, and we're gonna be discussing who's the winner here. So starting off, number one, we have Calvin Ridley, Kareem Hunt for Kyron Williams and Chris Godwin. What are your thoughts?
I'm gonna have to say whoever gets Kyron and Godwin, I think is winning. Just because, I look at Kareem Hunt. This man got signed like less than a week ago. It's gonna take time for him to get integrated into that offense. It might be a little bit biased because I have Jerome Ford, but Jerome Ford is a much younger back. He has been stated as the clear running back one by the head coach himself. Kareem Hunt will definitely get some touches, but if you look at his average yards per carry the last few years, he's been in the league. It's been consistently 4 yards. I mean, Jerome Ford, we've seen a lot more explosiveness out of him. And then if you look at Calvin Ridley, that's just a loaded offense in general. You have Calvin Ridley, Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, a lot of mouths to feed. And then if you look at, in LA, I mean, you have Kyron Williams, clear running back one. Cam Akers is gone. A lot of volume there, as we've seen so far. Chris Godwin, he's wide receiver two and a very reliable one in the Tampa Bay offense. Outside of Mike Evans, he's that guy to go to. I think Kyron Godwin is the winner here.
Yeah, I would have to disagree with you, actually. I think the best player in the trade is Calvin Ridley. I think it's mainly comes down to Calvin Ridley is gonna become my wide receiver. He's gonna be an upgrade to Chris Godwin. Chris Godwin has been underperforming this season. Mike Evans is the one that's eating in the Buccaneers offense. Baker seems to like Mike a lot more. And Godwin just seems like that player that's going to get like 8 to 10 points every game. He is a PPR monster, but I think Baker isn't the quarterback that helps out with that. Um, so given that, I think there's a bigger upgrade to Ridley. However, yes, there is a fair point that Kareem Hunt isn't a great return. However, given that Calvin Ridley is part of the deal, I think Kareem Hunt is someone you can take a chance on. You hyped up Jerome Ford, but who the hell is Jerome Ford? Let's be real. We've seen so many running backs come and go for 1 week or 2 weeks, and we don't know much about Jerome Ford. They know Kareem Hunt real well. We know that he's going to take away some passing work, passing volume. So I'm not too happy about the Kareem Hunt give back, but I think the best player available is the way to go here.
Yeah, I think you guys both make very valid points. And obviously each trade we got to preface, like each trade for me at least, obviously at the end of the day comes down to what your respective team needs, right? So you could always have two winners. I mean, it really comes down to what you really need and the holes you need to fill in your team. But in my case, I tend to also lean a little more to what Sarthik was saying. I think Godwin and Williams are serviceable players, but Godwin's been underperforming as well this year. And with Baker there too, clearly in a double wide receiver role when Baker had Jarvis and OBJ before, OBJ was that prime guy, or Jarvis was that prime guy, but he wasn't feeding both guys, and we've seen this example before. I think it's kind of similar with Mike and Chris in this situation. I think Mike Evans is going to be that go-to guy. Chris Godwin might be that possessional receiver who gets a key third down catch or moves the sticks, but I don't think he's going to be fed the ball like we saw in that last drive against the Eagles right before the half ended. Mike Evans got fed the ball like 4 or 5 times just on that one drive itself. So I think the value is definitely lacking there for Godwin. I mean, and just as a whole, I tend to look at in most trades who is the best player and where is he going. In this situation, especially with Ridley, yeah, the Jacksonville wide receiver room is extremely saturated, but they brought Ridley in for a reason. I mean, they let him sit out all of last year still for a reason. They traded for him while he was suspended for a reason. Even though they had Christian Kirk, even though they have Evan Ingram, even though they have Zay Jones and Travis Etienne coming out of the backfield, they brought Ridley in because this dude is a playmaker. I mean, he's got there's speed and there's like games. This guy is just next level turbo speed, right? So I think when healthy, and give it a couple weeks. It's only been 3 games. Trevor Lawrence and Calvin Ridley still have to get on the same page a little bit, but I have to lean more so towards the Calvin Ridley trade as well.
Yeah, solid points overall. Again, I'm not being biased here, but I think I might go with the Kyron Godwin route personally. To me, like let's start off with Hunt. Hunt, I don't know, 6 other guys ran that ball in that backfield. So you're probably, the way I'm seeing this is a Ridley for Kyron and Godwin. And I see the value with Kyron. He's getting goal line work. He's getting, a majority of that rushing work too. So I like to have that upside with that running back. Godwin, yeah, he's not getting, Mike Evans is eating a lot more than Godwin is. But as we've seen Godwin in the past being a PPR a target monster as he is, anything can happen to Mike Evans at his age too. So I think I'm going to lead towards Kyron and Godwin. All right, last trade. This is a pretty good one. So we got TJ Hawkinson and Jalen Waddle for Bijan Robinson and Hollywood Brown. What are your guys' thoughts on this one?
Man, I think this might be the most even trade that I think we've discussed. I mean, Hawk and Waddle for. So I'm gonna have to say slight bias here again. I'm gonna have to say Hawk and Waddle, just because I mean, you look at just the tight end landscape right now. I mean, apart from Travis Kelce and TJ Hawkinson, you can't really say anybody else. I mean, Hawk so far, I think he is tight end one. Kelce's been battling that injury. He looks healthy now, but I've just seen a lot more consistency coming out of Hawk this past 3 weeks. And Jalen Waddle, I mean, to have him and Tyreek Hill on one team is just ridiculous. And I think Jalen Waddle can just produce a lot too in Miami. That's just an explosive and prolific offense, as we saw this past weekend without Waddle. So just imagine with Waddle what they can do. But I love Bijan. I know there's a lot of hype / doubt on him, but he's been able to produce and meet expectations. So I really like that boom potential. But given that run heavy offense, that can lead to something like an injury or things like that. Obviously, we can't predict injuries, but in terms of I always like going to see which option in the future could be more safe. I like Hawk and Waddle. Hollywood Brown, great receiver, but obviously Cardinals had a great win, but we don't know how how consistent they're going to be in the coming weeks. It's just one game. I'm gonna have to go Hawkinson and Waddle.
Yeah, I actually have a very similar argument into why a manager would want to go Bijan here. Like, take a look at the running back landscape. It's rough. It's very rough with the injuries that's happened. And at the end of the day, running backs are more critical to your roster, and getting a top 3, minimum top 5 guy is such an puts you at such an advantageous position. However, in this case, I really like these 2 players, Hawkinson and Waddle. And to be honest, if you gave back Pollard instead of Bijan, I probably would have picked the other side. However, I'm gonna go with the Hawk and Waddle side because Waddle is in that Miami Dolphins offense. You want any part of that Miami Dolphins offense, any part you can have, because they can score 70 if they wanted to, and we just saw that. So if Waddle was there, he's going to be there for the rest of the season. He's going to have his games where he's going to go off for 40 points, for 30 points. And, that's what I would want to be buying, especially if the manager might be, down on Waddle just being injured and might want to sell him. Maybe there's an opportunity. But in this case specifically, I think you are getting a tight end back, a very valuable one, alongside the wide receiver. Even with the value of that high running back, I'm just going to have to go with my players that I like.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even think this is close. I don't know why we're discussing this. I personally feel like it's a landslide, Waddle and Hawk. I mean, the way I view it, it's like you've all touched on kind of Hawkinson is the tight end one right now. We all know the tight end landscape. So the tight end and running backs.
Tight end one.
Right now, in terms of fantasy, he's the best tight end in the league. Is he not?
Oh, current, like in terms of fantasy points.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
He's the current tight end one, right? So the value you get already in a sparse position such as tight end or running back, like you would get in Bijan, carries even more boosted value. So in my eyes, those two players in essence even out. Now we're left with Waddle and Hollywood Brown. I mean, I don't even know if there's a comparison to be made here. Hollywood Brown, great player, nothing against him, but he's, I mean, a low round, maybe even you can get a comparable player off the waiver wire if you really wanted to. We saw it with Puka week one. I mean, most of the leagues, Puka wasn't even a rostered player after week one, and look at him now, right? So like to get a wide receiver between 9 and 12 points off of the waiver wire is doable for sure every week. Whereas Waddle was the number 7 wide receiver last year, and when healthy, a lock as a top 15, definitely top 20 wide receiver throughout the whole season. Hollywood Brown hasn't shown that he can continue that for a whole season. We'll see what happens with Josh Dobbs too, new coach and everything. So I don't even think this is close. I'd go Hawk and Waddle all day, every day.
Yeah, I mean, like Sarthik mentioned, you want to buy as much as you can into that Miami offense, and getting a tight end like Hawkinson back is just something you don't have to worry about for the rest of your life, is a tight end position. But I think that ends that right here. Thank you for everyone listening on. Please make sure to subscribe and stay tuned for our next videos. Peace.